This is The Rumor Report with Angela Yee on The Breakfast Club.
So listen up.
Well, Nick Cannon has been trending since yesterday, and that's because of his most recent episode of his YouTube show, Cannon's Class. And they are saying that he is anti-Semitic and that he has bizarre racial theories. He was talking with Professor Griff, former Public Enemy figure, who also was kicked out of Public Enemy for making similar claims in an interview then. Here is what Nick Cannon had to say about Black people being the true Hebrews.
When we go as deep as the Rothschild, centralized banking, the bloodlines that control everything, even outside of America. When we talk about the people who, if we were truly the children of Israel, and we're defining who the Jewish people are, because I feel like if we actually can understand that construct, then we can see that there is no hate involved. When we talk about the lies, the deceit, how the fake dollar controls all of this, then maybe we can get to the reason why they wanted to silence you, why they want to silence Minister Farrakhan, and they want to throw that we are having hate speech when it's never hate speech, when it's not. You can't be anti-Semitic when we are the Semitic people, when we are the same people that they want to be. That's our birthright.
Here's the thing, right? We all have freedom of speech, but we're not free of the consequences of that speech. Every time we open our mouths on radio, podcast, TV, to have those types of conversations, it's a good chance we might offend someone. And even though we are free to say what we want, the people we are talking about have the freedom to respond how they want to respond. And this is how they chose to respond by, firing Nick Cannon. That's what you can do when you have the power. And if it's...
No, I want to play the next part of what he had to say about white people that was also trending. Here's what else he said.
The people that don't have it are a little less in where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people. They had to be savages.
Now, see, that's a whole different conversation, though, because to sit here and act like white people don't have a history of mass racial violence in this country is just inaccurate. There's a long list of mass racial violence, savagery, if you want to call it, murder, whatever you want to call it, from white people on damn near everybody in this country. Racial violence has been a distinct part of this country since 1660, and that's a fact. And I don't even have to begin to run down the long list of violent, murderous, savage acts from white people in this country. I would just encourage you all to go to blackpast.org, and look at all the racial violence folks have experienced at the hands of white people. So that part of the conversation, that's a whole different, that's a whole different conversation.
But then we also have a conversation to say that we need our own platform so we can speak on our own platforms. Because like you said, if we don't own a platform and somebody has a problem with what we say or don't like what we say or feels offended, they can let us go at any given point.
That was still his YouTube talk show. Well, here's what Viacom CBS had to say. They released a statement. And, he's the chairman of Teen Nick. Of course, he has Wildin' Out also. That's all Viacom. They said Viacom CBS condemns bigotry of any kind, and we categorically denounce all forms of anti-Semitism. We have spoken with Nick Cannon about an episode of his podcast, Cannon's Class on YouTube, which promoted hateful speech and spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. While we support ongoing education and dialogue in the fight against bigotry, we are deeply troubled that Nick has failed to acknowledge or apologize for perpetuating anti-Semitism, and we are terminating our relationship with him.
Listen, Nick is my guy. I hate it had to be him, but that's what you can do when you have the power. And if it's one thing Jewish people have showed us is they have the power. I can't wait until the day Black people are able to fire people for saying things about us that we deem racist. We can barely get cops fired for actually killing us. They fired Nick for referencing a theory written by a psychologist, on racism. Also, though, if you're going to have that conversation, have it with a Jewish scholar. Have it with a rabbi. Have it with someone from that community. So anything you say that's not accurate, they can correct you. So when you say something that they deem anti-Semitic, they can correct you. To me, that's how you avoid things like this from happening.
I was having a discussion with Jasmine from the Jasmine brand, and we were talking about Mel Gibson and how he still works a lot in Hollywood, despite a lot of things that he said about Jewish people also in the past.
They whipped it. He got his ass whipped too, though. He did get his ass. I agree with you. He still is working, but he did get his ass whipped. And Nick's still working too. Like Nick still got, Fox, and he still got he got his talk show coming on Fox. He still got his radio show with out in L.A.
Does he own
well,
Wildin' Out though? I wonder if he owns the Wildin' Out. Is that his? So if they let him go, does Viacom keep that, or does he be able to take that to another platform?
I don't know what his contract says.
I'm pretty sure Nick has some ownership in Wildin' Out, but it's two different conversations that went on in that conversation. Though, the conversation about what's deemed anti-Semitic. I don't know anything about that. But if you want to talk about the history of white people in America and the racial violence and the savagery and the murder, that's a whole different conversation. I'm not casting a wide net saying that all white people are savages, but if you want to have an accurate conversation about history, yes, white people do have a history of mass racial violence in this country. That is accurate.
I do want to make sure we get to what Nick Cannon had to say, because he did post his own statements on both Facebook and on Twitter. He said, anyone who knows me knows that I have no hate in my heart nor malice intentions. I do not condone hate speech nor the spread of hateful rhetoric. We are living in a time when it's more important than ever to promote unity and understanding. The Black and Jewish communities have both faced enormous hatred, oppression, persecution, and prejudice for thousands of years, and in many ways have and will continue to work together to overcome these obstacles. When you look at the media and other sectors in our nation's history, African Americans and the people of the Jewish community have partnered to create some of the best, most revolutionary work we know today. I am an advocate for people's voices to be heard openly, fairly, and candidly. In today's conversation about anti-racism and social justice, I think we all, including myself, must continue educating one another and embrace uncomfortable conversations. It's the only way we all get better. So he goes on to talk about encouraging more healthy dialogue. He said, I welcome experts, clergy, or spokespersons to any of my platforms to hold me accountable and correct me in any statement. He said, until then, I hold myself accountable for this moment and take full responsibility, because my intentions are only to show that as a beautiful human species, we have way more commonalities than differences.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's right. But you can't tell Jewish people what's anti-Semitic, just like nobody can tell black people what's racist, just like you can't tell gay people what's homophobic. You can't tell women what's sexist. The only thing that you can do is when you say something like that they deem one of those things, you got to sit back and listen. I can't tell you that what you felt isn't what you feel. I can't do that.
Right. All right.
Right. So, and then after that, if you look at Nick Cannon's timeline, he's basically retweeting people who are discussing the situation, showing support for him. So take a look at all of that. We'll be following this whole story to see how this all plays out. All right, I'm Angela Yee, and that is your Rumor Report.